Alright, we're back with James, and hopefully we're going to finish it today. I'm very interested because, as I said, we don't have that long left to go until everything is over. We got the corgi mug today, and inside of it is something I haven't had before because I got it for Christmas, and it is mint and chocolate tea. I've never had that before, but I love mint and chocolate, and it was on my Christmas wish list, so I'm really excited to try it out, and we're going to try it out today. I'm gonna wait for it to cool down a bit first, but that's what we've got going on today in the corgi mug, because I love my corgi mug. Okay. Let's go. The very next day, I let Eric know what I found. So there's 5 supers in those archives who can turn invisible, he repeats what I said. Technically, there's way more. However, these 5 can not only turn themselves invisible, but other objects as well, including their clothes. Eric looks over the folders I picked out and placed on the coffee table. We don't know that the guy who attacked you is one of them, though. He crosses his arms and leans back into the couch. I mean, it seemed like a pretty good bet, right? That they would have a folder on someone that they were working with. Because didn't the person who was invisible say, hey, your parents left me by myself, or whatever. So I feel like there's a decent chance. True, I admit. They may very well have nothing to do with the guy that attacked me. But it's worth a shot to find out, don't you think? Some of them have addresses we can go and... You are not going anywhere, Eric interrupts me. I fix him with a glare, my eyebrows lowering. Just because I got hit last time doesn't mean it'll happen again. No, it's too dangerous. I don't trust it. How do you fight a guy you can't even see? Look, I'm getting some self-defense training from James and Eok. Would that put your mind at ease? Eric just laughs at the audacity. You think a few tricks can help you go up against a super involved with Julio of all organizations. He shakes his head in disagreement. You're mad. I'm not letting you go again. Kane and I can figure things out ourselves. Hey, if you're not letting me investigate, I forbid you to go out on your own as well. Who says I'm going out in the field? I've got my drone, you know. Ah, yes, it was very helpful in the rain last time, I grumble. Don't insult my drone, he snaps. Whatever. I'm not just going to stay locked up again. I did that on another planet, and I'm done waiting around, I say proudly. I know it's dangerous, that's why I'm taking some lessons to be able to protect myself better. But one way or another, I'm going to find out who that guy is and why he was the last person our parents had contact with. Eric throws his hands up in the air. Do what you want, but not until after I see with my own eyes you can protect yourself. Until then, just sit back and let me and Kane deal with it. I bite down on my bottom lip and look away. Fine. Fair enough. Scheming. Oh, I thought she was going to scheme, not be like, sure, I'll do what he says and just, like, have a fitness montage. It seems I'm going to have to shape up a bit before I can investigate further. This is like an actual block in a game where they're like, you have to get your athletics skill up a bit more before you can continue with the story. A few days later, going through some rigorous training from James, we're at it early again in the morning. I slide my hand across my shoulder, stretching my neck. My muscles feel so stiff and sore. Shouldn't I be getting used to this by now? How long has it been? It takes a little while for you to get used to it. Sore shoulders? Asks Eok in a concerned tone. I confirm. Throwing out all those punches just makes my arms super tired. Well, it's because you're a beginner. Keep at it and it'll be easier, he cheers me on. I give him a smile. Thanks, let's hope. Alright, show me the moves. Eok, restrain her from behind. James inserts himself into our light conversation, using a tone that means he's not in the mood for chit-chat. Eok grabs me from behind again, a chokehold position that I've repeated many times by now. To be fair, I am getting used to the routine. It's easier to grasp. I punch backwards and deliver my full combo on Eok before he releases me. James remains quiet, however, his arms folded across his chest. He's been watching me like a hawk these past few days, correcting even the most minor posture mistakes. It's a little unnerving to be examined so closely. At times, I feel like I'm performing worse when he's watching. I get nervous. Now from the front. Dodge his attempts, he instructs us. Eok stands in front of me and I spread my feet apart with my hands in front of my face, ready to disengage. Eok tries to grab my wrist, but I quickly deflect it with my own. He keeps repeating it, getting closer and closer to me each time. Remember to step back, James tells me, noticing I'm letting Eok get too close. Always maintain a proper distance between you and your attacker. I jump back to put some distance between us. Except Eok is also light on his feet and he lunges forward, successfully grabbing my wrist and pulling me close. I push my palm against his chin, delivering a swift blow. I then knee him in the groin as he leaves himself wide open. Sorry, I think one of my cats has just come in. I think he's hiding under the bed because one of my cat likes to pick on him. With a guffaw, Eok backs away, a pained expression on his face. Oh no, did I hurt you? I ask, fussing over him. I tried to keep it light. No, it was a good shot, he says through a grimace. All I can do is give him an apologetic look. Time to switch partners, James announces, stepping forwards himself. It's clear Eok is holding back, but so are you. Your attacks are restrained. You need to hit like you mean it. I wince a little. He's right. I have been holding back. It's hard to want to punch Eok for real. Maybe I wouldn't have such reservations against James's smug face. Eok, resume your own training. I'll take it from here. Eok bows and leaves the two of us alone. Let's see how you fare against someone more competent, he says as he unfolds his arms. That doesn't sound ominous at all. Come at me, I roar, getting into a fighting stance. James throws back his head with a smirk. Have it your way. In an instant, he's in front of me, grabbing my wrist before I can react. He twists me around and pins my arm behind my back. I struggle to break free, but he has an enormous amount of strength, forcing me into submission. He lowers his face next to my head. You're dead, he says. James releases me, taking a step back. You're small. Use it to your advantage. Make yourself a target that is hard to catch, move, dodge, and duck. Then he spreads his feet apart, getting ready once more. Again, he announces. When he approaches me again, I sidestep him, ducking away from his grab. Except he's faster than I am, and he throws an arm around my neck, pulling me into his chest. I step onto his foot, but he pulls it back, making me slam my heel onto the ground. Frustrated, I try the groin attack, but he hugs me so close to his body, I am unable to move my arm. Dead again. There's a hint of amusement in his tone. It makes me want to smack him. James lets me loose, and I huff in annoyance. Your priority is not to get grabbed in the first place, he lectures me, because no matter the moves you know, someone stronger than you will always have the upper hand. Let's test that theory out then, I warn him, narrowing my eyes at him. He makes his move, approaching me with velocity. I end up evading him, skirting around the field, staying light on my feet. But James is just so much faster than I am able to keep up with, and within a split second he's behind me again, one arm wrapped around my neck and the other holding my left arm. When I tried to punch backwards, James does the same thing as before, pulling me in closer so I can't hit him. Frustrated, I conjure a thread from all my fingers, weaving them together to make a cohesive piece of rope. With this rope, I hook it around his arm that's restraining my neck, and I yank on it. Surprised by the sudden pull on his arm, James's hold weakens, allowing me to wiggle to freedom. I jump away, grabbing the piece of woven rope with me. A smirk creeps onto my face, feeling quite proud of myself for escaping him. That's not what we taught you, he says, looking at the white rope in my hand. I dissolve it and shrug at him. You said I can't beat someone more powerful than me, but I don't need to be stronger than them, just smarter. It's clever, I'll give you that, he admits. Perhaps it would be better to train you while keeping in mind you can. He points at my hand. Make this, I say, making a single thread grow from the tip of my index finger. Yes, I was under the impression it only served medical purposes, but I've been wrong about that. You can apply it in combat as well. He steps closer to me, suddenly very interested in my ability. How strong is it? A little giddy, he's showing interest. I show him how strong my thread is by spreading it between both hands and snapping it apart. It's not that strong, just a good tug and it snaps. But if I weave it together like this, I say as I conjure multiple threads from my fingertips, then it becomes much stronger, like a piece of rope. I lace together a string of around a meter long, then detach it from my fingers, handing it over to James. He gives it a close inspection, tugging at it to gauge its strength. He also weighs it as he moves his hand up and down. It's lightweight, he notes. Then he pulls it apart in two pieces without much effort. Giving it one last glance, he hands it back to me. May be strong enough to hold your own weight. You know, that's how I caught you, I say as I dissolve the rope. Caught me? James repeats, eyebrows raising. Oh right, you probably don't remember. The first time I saw you, you were falling from the sky. I weaved a net between two poles to catch you. I gesture with my hand to show him the scale of the net I had to make. I was so afraid I wouldn't be fast enough, but luckily I caught you without injuring you, I say with a triumphant smile. He slowly tilts his head to the side as he takes this information in. This is completely new to him. It seems I owed you my life even before everything, he mumbles quietly, eyes cast on the dirt in front of him. Yeah, well, you ended up being the bad guy here and kidnapping me. That's my thanks for helping you, I say facetiously. James clicks his tongue. Lessons learned, haven't we? Don't empathize with the enemy. I didn't know whose side you were on, I argue back. But even so, I told you that night, I can't stand by doing nothing when I know I have the power to help someone. I look at him, a flash of determination flickering in my eyes. Even knowing who you are and what would happen to me, I do it all over again too. James suddenly closes the gap between us and he's right in front of me. His gaze is just as intense as his posture. I have wronged you so much, yet you still look at me with your unyielding eyes, like a fire that can't be put out. Something inside me wavers, like I'm becoming entranced by him. You have integrity, standing by your beliefs. I can respect that, he says in this low whisper. We stare at each other for a while. It's weird and even a little exciting. Doki doki. He all but told me he respects me. Coming from James, that feels huge. My heart can't stop beating faster. And suddenly, I don't know how to move my body anymore. Weren't we supposed to be training? How did we end up in this conversation? I'm gonna take a sip. You know what? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. It's definitely up there with my favorite teas. After a few more seconds, James retreats, stepping away from me and creating some space between us. It feels like I can breathe normally again. So she's caught feelings, but she doesn't really know it. Now let's resume training. Try and use that ability of yours if you can. I nod at him as I get into a fighting stance. Alright, I'm ready. A flash of a genuine smile on James's face stops me dead in my tracks. Let's take another screenshot. I'm gonna have to get used to your nodding, he says in a light manner. I'm absolutely floored to see him act so carefree. I've only seen him smile once at the marker festival towards his sister, but never directed to me. God, it feels like an absolute rarity to see. My lips pull into a smile of my own. You're gonna have to get used to a lot of things with me, I reply, matching his tone. James stops smiling, his face back to his usual self as he launches himself towards me. We've been at it for hours now. James is unabashedly strong and ridiculously fast, but I'm improving. I'm starting to keep up with him, even using my thread to get me out of difficult situations. But now I'm just getting drained and tired. James hasn't even broken a sweat. I'm so salty about that. I'm drenched in my own sweat and I reek. I get out of my fighting stance. James, can we quit now? I whine. Except that was the wrong move. James was already running towards me. With my unguarded body, his attempt to grab me ends up knocking me off of my feet. I yelp and claw at his chest, trying to catch myself. It's no use. I fall down onto the dirt with him on top of me. The force of James's push is so big it makes us tumble across the dirt, rolling around until we come to a stop. With elbows planted on the sides of my head, James gazes down at me, pure fear reflected in his eyes. God, his entire body is crushing me. He's so heavy, because he's such a big, beefy man. His heart is beating fast, the melody almost erratic. My breathing is out of whack too. Are you hurt? He asks, scanning my body for any injuries. I blink up at him as I realize what he means, the oath. He can't he can't harm humans. So this is going to be a cause for some misunderstandings, I believe. So she's going to be like, oh, he's fearful because he doesn't want to break the oath because then he'll die. He doesn't want to die. When really his first thought was probably, oh no, she's hurt. Like, I hurt her. He wasn't even thinking of the oath. Right? I'm probably wrong, because as much as this game does use tropes, because you can't get away from them and they're amazing a lot of the time, the writer doesn't necessarily use them when he could, and it would be very effective. Like, him being freaked out about her going, maybe it was too soon, I don't know. No worries. Your heart's still beating, I pant. Putrid mother's nutsack. I didn't think you'd suddenly drop your guard. Sorry, I mumble. We could have both died. I feel so guilty, but also completely terrified that he's right. We could have died if he had hurt me. Okay, so he does care about that, but maybe his first thought still was her. James removes himself from me and swiftly pulls me to my feet as well. It's then that I notice a small scrape on my elbow. Oh, huh, I did get hurt, I say, showing James my small scrape. James's eyes flicker between my elbow and his own hand. We are not dead, he states. That's a genius observation, I say with a snort. James fixes me with a glare. You know very well what I mean. The oath we took, is it not working? He questions. I have no idea either. Is it faulty? I stare at the back of my right hand and see the faint lines of the oath. I don't think so. Then why are we alive? I think, and I'm making a huge assumption here, maybe there's a distinction between intent and an accident? Clearly you didn't mean to hurt me. It was an accident. James crosses his arms, looking a bit peeved. Training is over. Let's return and replenish ourselves, he says stiffly. I'm all in agreement with that. I'll admit, it was nice to see him panic a little bit. Yeah, over the shared bond that he might have died, because it didn't show any indication that it was anything else. I'm so tired. Like, I just want him to soften a bit already. It's been 22 chapters of just him being a bastard. Eric has spent the next... it'll feel rewarding when he does turn, right? When he does... I'm not saying he hasn't suffered at all. He has. But not to the extent that I would like. And I'm worried that's never going to happen. And so... I don't know. Eric has spent the next few days investigating the addresses of the supers who can turn invisible. Another dead end, he says, throwing the folder onto the coffee table. What was it this time? I ask. Cancer. Can't hide from that, I guess. Dead for 2 years. Okay, yes, being dead definitely gets you crossed off the list. We've gone through 4 of them so far. They've either moved out of the country or are dead or just missing completely. There's only 1 left. We're working with 8-year-old data. It's not going to help us much, says Eric. Seems Mr. Invisible is left. He's in the next town over. At least it's not far, I say, browsing through the last folder. That's going to have to wait. Kane is out on his own mission at the moment. Huh, Kane's gone. I mean, he's a super after all. He's got to do missions every now and then to earn money. What if I go? I suggest. Eric fixes me with a strong, disapproving glare. You kidding me? Of course not. I've been receiving training, you know. It's been like a week. My god, you are one irritating little bugger, you know that? I groan. I'm thinking of your safety here. If Kane's not around to protect you, who will? James, I blurt out. Eric blinks several times at me, his head twitching. He bursts out laughing. He kicks at the table and punches the air, and then clicks his tongue and gives me finger guns. Good one, sis. I don't know why I said it, but now that his name has left my lips, I am starting to see that it could work. Bringing a beefy guy along with me as a bodyguard? Surely that would scare anyone off. I mean, he doesn't need to physically hurt anyone. It's enough for him to appear threatening, I say. Eric sits up straight, giving me a funny look. Wait, you're serious? He can be my backup, I explain. He's got really good senses, you know. Apart from he has no sense of direction. A lump of alien shit kidnapped you to another planet, then tried to attack Earth again, he cries out loud. Why would you even trust him enough to help you? Do I? A month ago, when I returned back to Earth, I would say I trusted Eok, but I wouldn't have an answer for James. Except I think my feelings have started to change. Well, first of all, he's under oath, so he honestly has no choice but to listen to me, I say. And second of all, he's already been training me to get better at self-defense. It shows good faith. Eric shakes his head, rubbing his temples. You're mad. Bonkers. Kane was right about that Stockholm thing. I punch his shoulder, glaring at him. Don't joke about that. Look, he's big and bulky. He could get me out of trouble. If Kane isn't available, then he's our next best bet. It's not like we can hire a super of our own for protection. The Forrester Company would know. Then we'd have them breathing down our necks, asking us questions. And we don't want them finding out our parents were actually vigilantes. I hate that you make a good point, he grumbles. But you're supposed to be laying low, he points out. At least with Kane, you were wearing a helmet so people couldn't see you. I know, super mole girl or whatever. Relax, I'm not trending anymore and, I quickly start thinking of some designs I could use. I'll wear a disguise. You're gonna make your own supersuit, aren't you? I give him the widest and cheekiest grin I can muster. That's right. Eok looks at me with curious eyes as I run around the various boxes of fabric. Wow, so you are going to be a soldier? He asks in wonder. I hold up a piece of white latex and laugh. No, not exactly. I'm just going to investigate a lead on that man who could turn invisible, and I'm going to make myself a supersuit so that people won't recognize me. I'm a little confused how wearing something flashier makes you stand out less, he says sheepishly. It'll work, trust me, I say with confidence. I just need James to work with me, I mutter as I bite down on my thumb. I haven't asked him yet. What do you want of Prince James? To, act as my bodyguard. Eok stands up straight and pounds his chest. If you're in need of protection, I am willing to serve you, he says with a respectful bow. I smile at him. He's always so eager. I'm glad he got to stay on Earth with me. I'd miss him too much otherwise. Thank you so much for the offer, Eok. He grins at me, thinking I'll agree to it. But I think James is a better fit. I know you're both competent when it comes to combat, but neither of you can attack anyone in the first place. It's about looking intimidating. Eok's brows droop. Oh. Yeah, sorry. You're very cute in your human form. Not exactly something that instills fear in people. That makes him look even more dejected. I am useless, then. No, 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 I say quickly, feeling guilty. You're here for moral support. My bedroom door suddenly bursts open. What is this I hear about looking intimidating? James demands to know. What is up with that hearing of yours? I question loudly. Also, can't you knock first? James gives me a long glance, then casually knocks on the door whilst keeping eye contact with me. Haha, very funny, I quip. I'm not acting funny, he replies, deadpan. Eok snorts in response. Whatever, I wanted to ask you something. Well? Do you want to act as my bodyguard for a little while? I ask, suddenly feeling stupid for asking. He tilts his head to the side, giving me a strange look. Bodyguard? He repeats. Yes, I'm going to the place where a super lives who can turn invisible to see if it's the same one that attacked me. I think I could use a little backup. You're asking me, a prince, to protect you? That's exactly what I'm asking. He huffs in response. Do you know how ludicrous that sounds? Look, all you need to do is stand around and looking broody, just like you're doing right now. Perfect snarl, you got it just right, I say, innocently smiling at him. Asking Prince James seems a little beneath him, Eok admits. I'll do it. Both Eok and I stare at James like we didn't hear him correctly. What? I ask dumbly. This is the man that attacked you before, yes? Asks James. Yes, I say slowly. Then I shall go with you. I still can't quite wrap around his logic, but he's saying yes at least. I was expecting more of a struggle, that I'd be forced to use the oath card, that he doesn't have a choice. It hasn't been too long since you've started your training, but I believe you should be able to defend yourself much better now. I will go to oversee, he explains. Prince James is not honest. He's just worried you'll get hurt again, Eok whispers to me. James narrows his eyes at him. Eok, be quiet or I'll throw you into the lake. Eok shrieks and backs away. You wouldn't. You know Gout can't swim, he says in a fearful tone. He smirks at him. Exactly. Can you stop threatening, Eok, please? I ask with a loud sigh. When do we leave? James asks, his tone serious. I look around my room. As soon as I finish my suit. I have to wear something so people don't recognize me when I go out. How many days? He asks more urgently. I'll have it ready in 2 days, I say quickly. Then we should prepare. Let's head out to train. Now, I whine. I was about to work on my suit. I had all these designs in my head ready to go. If you want my help, you're going to have to work for it, he says, a cocky smirk gracing his features. Prince James is right. You should train as much as you can before facing the invisible man again, Eok agrees. All right, I'll train again. But please leave me some time to finish my own work, I plead. Manage to beat me and you can wrap up training early, he says. I groan. That means I'll be training all day. Get to it then. James then disappears from my room. I pull the tab all the way up the zipper, completely fitted into my own suit. I stretch out my arms and do a few squats to test out the fit. Huh? The hell is that? Asks Eric as he enters the living room. This, I say, flaunting my body, is my supersuit. You look like a squatting white frog. I growl at my brother. My design is very sophisticated, thank you very much. Sophisticated? Yeah, right. You're right. I take it back. You look like a PlayStation 5 instead. I shove Eric onto the couch with a huff. Don't be an annoying little pest. I'm about to head off, you know. His playful demeanor changes. You're officially a vigilante now. You know that, right? So were Mum and Dad. And look how that turned out for them. I give him a cold look. That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. Eric heaves a sigh and then tosses me a small metal can. Here, he says as I catch it. Spray the dude if you come across him. It's blue paint. How would that help? I question. He can turn matter invisible aside from himself. Eric rolls his eyes. Yes, exactly. Which means you're going to see a man-shaped hole in the middle of all this blue floating paint. Easy to find, no? Oh, I feel a bit slow. That definitely works. Now, where's that meathead? I need to have a word with him before you leave, says Eric, looking around for James. He's outside, probably doing a bit of training before we leave. I stuff the can into a pocket I've strapped to my waist. We both leave the cabin to go outside. At least it isn't raining this time round. As suspected, James is training off in the distance, right near the pier. Eok appears to be his sparring partner. James! I holler at him, waving my hand. They halt their training and walk towards us. James is already in his gear. Now you two are matching idiots, remarks Eric. I knock him over the head, giving him a disapproving stare. Hey, he protests. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. You can shove that opinion up your... Are we moving out? James cuts in. I stop arguing with Eric and nod at him. Yes, are you ready? To find an invisible man without being able to use my own powers? He fires back. You don't need your powers. Can't you sniff him out? You always manage to know when I'm bleeding. Eric's nostrils flare up. Can we stop bringing up the period arc? It's so awkward. Bleeding? Did you hurt my sister? He yells at James. You would guess, but that's beside the point. No, I quickly cut in. Not that kind of bleeding. Ugh, never mind. Let's go, okay? Good luck, Valkii. May you return safely, says Eok as he bows in front of me. Eric suddenly pokes his finger into James's chest. Look, you better bring my sister back in one piece, alive and well. If I notice she has so much as a scratch on her, I'm going to toss you into a pool of piranhas and piss on your remains. James keeps his cool, probably because he has no idea what piranhas even are. Enough with the death threats. Don't pee on anyone, Eric. That's gross. Just follow us with the drone. I start guiding James towards the car. See you later. I wave at them. With the location entered into the GPS, we're on our way to Gion, the town next to Kleiner. Kleiner? I still don't know. It's a little strange to be driving a car with James in the passenger seat next to me. We're both wearing supersuits as well. Make sure you put your mask on when we leave the car, I warn him. I had to make him a small mask to cover most of his face. I don't want Forrester Inc. realizing James has left the premises. Eric is already hacking their tracking on James in the first place, but if his face gets captured by a security camera, then there's not much he can do. It feels a bit unnecessary, he comments. They can't know you've left. Same for me. We're both not supposed to be out right now, I say as I turn a left. James's body lurches to the side of the car and he shakes his head, trying to keep himself balanced. He coughs and sits up straight. Strange. Figures you're like this as well on your own planet, he mentions. Like what? He takes in a deep breath, not listening to authority. I snort in response. Guess not. I enter a roundabout and James clutches the car door, his face looking pained. Actually, last time he was in the car, he was on edge as well. It was just not as noticeable because I had Eok with me who kept talking to me about things he was seeing. Hey, James. I call his name as we exit the roundabout. What is it? He asks, sounding pained. Are you nauseous? He stares out the window, though he's unable to hide the paleness in his face. No, he answers. There is no need to concern yourself. Standard James talk. I bet he's carsick. I try to drive slowly and avoid roundabouts when I can. After a while of silence, James speaks up. What are piranhas? He questions. I stifle a giggle. I knew it was bothering him that he didn't know what it meant. They're little water devils. We finally arrived at our destination. Before exiting the car, I pull up my own mask over my nose. You sure you're okay? I ask, concerned about James. He seems to be wobbling a bit on his feet, even breaking out into a sweat. The car ride was not easy on him. Fresh air is good, he says, inhaling loudly. Mask on, I tell him. Thankfully, he listens as he pulls it over his face. God, we look like we're up to no good. Yeah, he'd probably stick out like a friggin' sore thumb, which I guess is correct. This is where he lives, in apartment 55, or supposed to, anyway, I say with a shrug. I check out the front door and read the list of residential names, looking for Alexander. I'm flashing back to particles of reality. We're fine. Alexander Kotov, his real name. Oh, he's here, I say excitedly, spotting his name on number 55. Why are you acting like you didn't think he'd be here? James questions me. Because he could have moved. The data I got on him is pretty old. I'm glad he's still living here, though. I stare at the door. What do? Do I just ring the bell? I look up at the apartment. Number 55 is on the top floor, it seems. If I ring and he recognizes me, he's going to run. I can't have him buzz me in. I need to break in myself. Eric, can you check apartment 55? See if you can look through the window and find anyone inside, I say to my earpiece. The drone that's been following us rises up in the sky, circling the apartment building. It hovers at the top floor. See anything? I ask. Mostly closed curtains, Eric mumbles. Maybe I can get a better view on the other side. The drone flies away to somewhere I can't see. Oh, I saw someone move inside. Great, he's there. Be careful, let the meat shield enter through the door first. I roll my eyes at his nicknames for James, then I turn to James. Okay, my brother confirmed someone is indeed at home. Now, how to open this door? I mumble as I pace up and down. As I'm pacing there, contemplating on how to unlock the electric door in front of me, wondering if perhaps I could scale the building and enter from the balcony, James nudges me. What? I say, flustered. He broke my train of thought. James holds the door open for me, cocking his head to the side. I look around and see an old woman walking away. Presumably she just exited the building and kept the door open for us as a nice gesture. Yeah, she just, like, let these weirdos go in. Totally normal. Like, no one's gonna get robbed or anything. Don't worry about it, old lady. Oh, well, that was easy, I say, feeling a bit sheepish for making it more complicated than it needed to be. No scaling buildings, then. Kane would have too much fun with that and call me Spider Widow or something. We enter the building. I mean, she could. She threads. Not web, but it's threads. As we stand in front of apartment number 55, I suddenly begin to get cold feet. We don't know for sure this is the same guy that attacked me, but it makes me pause nonetheless. Remember your training. As long as you're prepared, you'll do fine, James reassures me. Yes, he's right. Invisibility does not mean invincibility. He's just a normie who can turn invisible, which means I have a chance. I knock on the door, gulping as my knuckles hit the wood. I wait for a response, keeping my eyes trained on the window for any movement, in case he decides to bail. 2 people with supersuits showing up is bound to make anyone back off. When there's no response, I look over at James. Valkii, he's on the balcony trying to use the fire escape, Eric yells in my ear. He's escaping through the back, I tell James. Then I look at the door. Can you... Wasting no time, James kicks the door in. The sound of shattered wood fills my ears, and it takes a second to readjust. James has already entered inside without me, and I scramble to hurry up after him. I mean, he can restrain people. He just can't hurt people, right? So he's good. He's good bodyguard. I make my way through the messy apartment, reaching the balcony. He's turned invisible, James explains, following the sounds of the footsteps hurrying down the fire escape. I quickly pull out the can of paint from my pouch and start to spray it in the air. Blue paint particles start floating around everywhere, covering the fire escape. And soon enough, particles start to disappear as they stick to the invisible super. A man-shaped hole can be seen through the paint 2 floors below us. There! James jumps down several flights of stairs to catch up to the guy. I quickly weave a rope together with my thread, using it to catch him. Shit, where do I aim? It's still hard to see through all this floating paint. James takes the initiative and grabs my piece of rope dangling from above and swiftly uses it to lasso it around the invisible man, tying it around him and restraining him. Oh, good job! I scream for joy. James caught him. With pure brute strength, James flops something invisible over his shoulder and launches himself up in the air. For a brief moment, I believe he's flying, but no, he lands on the balcony with a loud thud. He just has a lot of muscle power in those thighs of his. He's like a certified grasshopper at this point. I apprehended the suspect, he says coolly. I can see his arm holding something, with my thread being bound around it as well. Let me go, you bastard, groans the invisible man. I don't know what he looks like, so I don't know who he is. Let's put him inside, I say quickly. We already made too much noise. People might call another super to investigate. We quickly head inside despite the protest of the guy we captured. Did it sound like... Oh my god, this place is hell. A lot of Coke bottles. Full bin with a bin next to it that hasn't been taken out. Moldy bread. Mold in general. Someone doesn't know how to cook. The front door has been hastily propped back up, though the locks and hinges are completely busted, but it's enough to block any noise from exiting. Because this guy won't shut the hell up. Let me go, you treacherous thieves! I'll spit on your graves! There's an invisible person tied up on a simple chair, with James and I standing in front of him. Show yourself, I demand. A wad of spit materializes from thin air and flies my way. I quickly jump to the side to dodge it. Ew, gross. Alright, you want to do it the hard way? I growl. Fuck you, he hisses. Agitated he's not working with me, I decide to straddle his waist by sitting on him. This way I know where he is. That's a bit intimate. The hell are you? My hands reach out for his face, accidentally almost plunging a finger into his mouth. Ugh. Let me go! He's whipping his head back and forth in my hands, but I've got a good grip on it. I stare into the air as a wicked grin spreads across on my face. Both of my thumbs are pressed hard against his cheeks. If you won't show yourself, or won't stop screaming, you're gonna regret it, I threaten him. When he's still screaming and thrashing about, I shrug and align all my fingers around his mouth. In an instant, my threads have pierced his skin, quickly sewing his mouth shut. Nothing but muffled yelps can be heard. Now that's not very comfortable, is it? I can feel him shake his head in my hands. I'll remove it if you show yourself. Oh my god, it's my baby! How could you? Poof, in an instant I see a guy's face in front of me, blue eyes staring at me with fear, and lips sewn shut. He's covered in blue paint that I sprayed on him earlier. I remove myself from his lap, satisfied with my work. Or it looks like him anyway. Neat trick, says James, looking pleased. The guy in the chair says something muffled, looking at me expectantly. I touch his lips with my index finger, feeling it rub against the thread, and then dissolve it completely so there's no trace. He opens up his mouth, taking in a large breath, and then another, like he's hyperventilating. Who the fuck are you people? What do you want? Can you keep your voice down? Otherwise you'll force me to shut you up again. I say, keeping my own voice calm and collected as much as possible, despite my racing heart. That seems to do the trick, and he stubbornly closes his mouth, glaring at me. Is it him, or is it his brother? I can't tell. Alright, I mean, it's not, because everyone plays a different freaking role in this route. They're not, like, the same people, but still. Alright, my first question is, are you the guy that Are you the guy that told me to meet you at that warehouse? The widening of his eyes says everything. Gotcha, Mr. Invisible. You're her, he says, realizing who I am. That's right, I don't take too kindly to being hit in the stomach, you know. Suddenly, he spits at my feet again. Give me, like, 1 freaking second here. Okay, right. I confused because I couldn't really see his face, or I couldn't really see him very well, but, and now, I'm getting so confused because everyone has, like, the same name. Kane is still Kane, Neil is still Neil, and if it was Dimitri, it would be Dimitri, but it's not Dimitri. It is Alex, his brother. So, we don't have... And Eric is not Dimitri. So... Right? Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, no, they look totally different. But Alex has the same eye. They both have the same eye color. That's what was throwing me off. And just because they could have given him a new sprite. I don't know. It threw me off for sure. Suddenly he spits at my feet again. Fucking deserved it if you are who you say you are. This man is acting insolent towards you. I suggest we really do throw him off the rooftop, says James. Mr. Invisible whips his head towards James. The hell kind of language is that? No, that won't be necessary, I reply. Tell me what you're doing here in my house. How the hell did you find me here? He demands to know. I thought you could tell me, I answer. I want to know who you are and why you were the last person my parents had called. Smoker importation? Portation? Smoker importation? They're trash. They left me to die, he hisses. Those two names mean nothing to me, but my instincts tell me that they were my parents' vigilante aliases. What do you mean they left you to die? I inquire. You think I like living in this shithole of an apartment, getting overrun by supers like you? Being Julio's lapdog? 8 years they left me to hang out and dry. He growls loudly. That means he's definitely involved with Julio, but why is he so mad at my parents? Where were they when I needed them the most, huh? I pause, slightly taken aback. You don't know? Know what? He spits back. They're dead. They died in a fire 8 years ago, a fire claimed by Julio, I explain. The man slowly closes his mouth, momentarily not talking. Then he rapidly blinks his eyes, shaking his head. No, they can't. That's not true. They're my parents. I saw the bodies. They're dead, I reinstate. Why do you think I'm here? I finally figured out a lead on their deaths. You were the last person they called. You even sent them a text message you were on your way. On your way to what? Me? He says, sounding surprised. He stares at me with his blue eyes, an eerie silence settling between us. You don't know anything, do you? That's what I'm trying to find out. All I know is that my parents had your information, including your address. Of course they did. I gave them all of that information, he scoffs. Irritation flashes in his eyes. They never told me about having a daughter. They never told me they were meddling with supers either, I retort back. Meddling? They were supposed to get me out. Get you out of what exactly? Fuck it, you don't know anything. I'm not saying shit. For all I know, you're some kind of Julio spy. God knows how many they have. This guy is extremely frustrating to work with. He's being incredibly difficult. If he doesn't want to answer any questions, I can tell you some interrogation methods, James offers. I shake my head. I really don't want to torture him, I sigh exasperatedly. Torture? His eyes widen in alarm. See this guy over here? He's very eager to get his hands on you to get you to talk. I casually lie as I point at James. A bit of good cop and bad cop acting wouldn't hurt. So if you don't start cooperating with us, I may just let him do his thing. That works too, says James in his own language. I don't know what you want from me. I haven't seen Smoker or Portation in years. So it's like Smoker, poof, smoke, and portation, teleportation? I don't know. Those are just my guesses. When I got the call from their number, I didn't know what the hell to do. All I want to know is why you were calling them 8 years ago. I repeat my question. I gave them the information they asked for, okay? And then they were supposed to get me out. Instead, I waited around like a fool, thinking I could start over. He spits out in annoyance. Sharing information that they asked for. What kind of information did they ask for? Fuck you, I'm not saying anything. James steps forward and kicks it at the chair's leg, breaking it down in one swift motion. The chair falls to its side with the man still tied to it. Looking threatening, James pulls back his foot, getting ready to kick again, this time aiming at the man's knees. Seeing his line of sight, the man starts to panic. Fine, I'll tell you, just leave my kneecaps alone. James lowers his foot onto the floor with a smirk. He is good at getting him to talk, for sure, since he doesn't know James can't harm him in the first place. I help him sit up straight, though it's a bit hard with one of the chair legs missing. Now, what was this information you told them? I ask, looking him right in the eye. That one of their friends was a backstabber. The biggest backstabber you can think of. Monumental shit, apparently. Can you stop being so vague? Just tell me already, I say impatiently. Which friend backstabbed them? I don't know his name. They call him the boss. I just know what he looks like. They don't let me know that kind of information, okay? I'm just a low grunt they use if they need some spy work done, he explains. You were a spy for my parents, I ask, raising my eyebrows. Informant, he hisses, correcting me. The pieces of the puzzle start to fall into place. My parents were using this guy as an informant. You're a spy for Julio, but we're feeding my parents information about them, is that right? Look, it's not by choice, alright? He huffs, annoyed. You try getting out of being blackmailed for something you did when you were stupid and 17, and kind of horny. They just keep making you do more fucked up stuff until you're in too deep and can't leave. What the fuck did you do, Alex? I narrow my eyes at the kind of horny part. What did you do that they're blackmailing you for? I question. Does it matter at this point? I've done worse since then, he sighs. Yes, of course. His blue eyes shift to the side, debating whether or not to tell me. Then he hangs his head low. I spied on some woman changing, okay? My ability is quite useful for that. Oh, of course. Disgusting. My face, hi kitten. My face scrunches up. Gross, he was leering at women while invisible. That's so gross, you pervert. I chastise him. They somehow got proof and made me their lackey. I ended up having to do more fucked up shit until there was no way out, he laments dejectedly. Smoker and Portation were going to get me out. A new identity, a new life. Portation was going to set up a portal. Okay, so he makes portals to teleport, right? So I could leave this shithole, but the portal never appeared. They abandoned me after they got their juicy information. I'm quite surprised to hear talk about a portal. One of my parents had an ability named Portation. Like I said, they didn't abandon you. They're dead. I repeat, getting a little annoyed he's not accepting it. It seemed on the night they were supposed to get you out, they ended up trapped in a building on fire and perished. The man casts his eyes to the floor. Do you know who did it? I ask. He looks at me weirdly. Isn't it obvious? I tilt my head to the side, clearly still in the dark. I found out who was at the top, running all this shit. I showed them a picture I managed to take while he was having lunch. It was one of their friends. I can feel a chill settle in my stomach. Which friend? How should I know? I still don't know the boss's name. Just that he looks like an older version of that super you brought along last time before his hair went all lightning-y. Huh, he means Kane? Because they both have red hair or something? Kane's parents died in that same fire as well. Hey, if I show you a picture, can you tell me if it's the same guy? I fish out my cell phone. Sure, whatever. Even if you know what he looks like, the guy is nigh impossible to catch. He practically won't leave his precious hideout unless he's armed with his flock of supers, and he's always rotating bases as well. One of the top guys at Julio hires supers. Duh. What, you think they got to be so powerful because they were all normies? They blackmail us to do their bidding. That definitely makes sense. Julio is a powerful organization that still terrorizes supers and people alike. To think they're using supers to do the job, ugh, it makes me sick. I browsed through the pictures on my phone, opening up the one I took of Kane's dad out on the terrace, the one that was encrypted. At the time, I thought the identity of the man hidden in the shadows was important, not the one in plain sight. I turned the phone over and show it to the man. Do you recognize him? How'd you get that picture? That's the one I took, he says, eyebrows furling together in a frown. I feel my heart stop. This is the picture you sent to my parents 8 years ago. Yeah, that's Julio's leader having lunch with another super. Portation wanted proof, so he put me on a stakeout. Julio's leader? I echo mindlessly. Are you sure? 100%, he says with an air of confidence that's hard to ignore. No way, I can't believe it. But he died in that fire as well, I point out. I went to the funeral. There was nothing left of him but ashes. He was very much alive. Saw him in a meeting with the other top supers a couple days ago. Shit's going down, that's for sure. I quickly pocket my cell phone and look away. All this information is making my head spin. Valkii, did I hear that right? Kane's dad is alive. Eric's voice echoes in my ear. Yeah, and apparently he's the top boss of Julio, I answer through gritted teeth. This can't be real. It's already so much to take in that my parents were involved as vigilantes and were tracking Julio. But to hear that the man I've known as Kane's dad all this time, he's part of Julio? Did he kill my parents? I choke out. Probably. He was obsessed with capturing them, you know. But I don't think he knew Smoker's and Portation's true identity. I rubbed my temples, feeling emotionally exhausted. Hey, are you going to untie me anytime soon or what? I'm spilling out my guts here, he whines. I feel like I need some time to process this. It's too much. My suggestion is to bring him with you and return to your sibling, says James after being quiet all this time. I'm not taking hostages, I respond. Mr. Invisible looks alarmed at this. I need to know, how long have you been playing informant for them? I ask. He groans, as if I keep track. A year, maybe? God, just let me go already. I answered everything. Where is this boss now? I continue to grill him. I don't know. Look, he changes where he's hiding frequently. We never meet at the same place twice. Damn it, if Kane's dad, Benjamin, is alive, then I want to know where he is. That's all I know. Just untie me already. Fuck, he huffs. Keep your phone on, I tell him. We'll be in touch. The hell you are. Get out of my apartment. I turn to James. Come on, we're leaving. Hey, untie me first. I stare at him coolly. I'm sure someone will come to your defense once they see the door has been broken into, I say. Hey, no, don't you fucking dare, he sneers. I start walking away, James following silently. This is payback for punching me in the stomach, I say smugly, flipping my hair back. Bastards. It's also, like, yeah, be punished more for leering at undressing women. Disgusting. Mr. Invisible throws a string of curses at our backs as we exit his apartment. This is the longest chapter ever, by the way. My grip on the wheel tightens as I try to organize my own thoughts. This is Julio. Who are they? It was mentioned a lot. James looks at me with a quizzical gaze. He must have been pretty lost with all this talk about Julio and whatnot. It's not a terrorist organization. They want to eradicate all people with abilities, like me, I explain, still seething on the inside. They were the ones that started the fire that my parents died in, I finish. But now I don't really know what to believe. What exactly happened that day? Kane was with us when he got a distress call from his mum. She said she was in the building along with my parents and it was on fire. She called Benjamin's name, but the call disconnected before she could finish speaking her sentence. We rushed to the office, but when we arrived, it was too late. The building was completely engulfed in fire. The autopsy later on confirmed that the 4 bodies they recovered were indeed my parents, as well as Kane's. Kane's parents died in that fire too, but now I'm hearing from this guy that Kane's dad didn't. He's alive. And Julio's boss? I am so confused, I say with a heavy sigh. He could also be lying. It's best not to trust him completely. James points out. Yes, you're right. We have no way of confirming whether or not he was speaking the truth. I focus my attention on the road, making sure to drive slowly so it doesn't upset James. Hey, I start softly. We made a pretty good team back there, I say, slightly smiling. James was supposed to be my imposing bodyguard, but instead I got someone who actively pursued Mr. Invisible. He even helped interrogate him. James folds his arms across his chest with a smirk. Perhaps you've forgotten, I am a very skilled captain, trained in the art of aerial and close combat. No, I certainly haven't, I say, waving my hand at him. But I admit, I didn't expect him to be so competent without being able to use his abilities. Nevertheless, we were in tandem with each other. Good synergy is hard to come by, he admits. You didn't use pure strength, but your tricks and wit were an asset. I guess I'm the brains and you're the brawn, I joke. Excuse me? He questions, raising an eyebrow. Oh, nothing, just an expression. It means you use strength and I use my smarts. It's still better to be strong, he says stubbornly. I suppress a chuckle. Still, it makes me happy to see him admit I did a good job. I hope Eric thinks so too. However, I've got more important things to think about, like how I'm going to tell Kane his dad is actually alive, and he's kind of the leader of this terrorist organization, and how I'm going to bring them down. Dun 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 dun. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.